Hi guys, so in last video we discussed about the concept of the looping statement. We discussed about the while loop, do while loop, for loop, and after that we completed the break and continue statement. Now from this video we are going to start a very important topic that is called as arrays in C++ programming language. In this video we will discuss about the concept of array and after that we will do the multiple practice questions. Let's start this topic. So the topic is arrays in C++. Let me erase this. Let me write this again. Array in C++. Let's first understand the basic definition of the array. So the basic definition says that are used arrays are used to store multiple values in a single variable. Multiple values in a single single variable. Example can be, let's consider I am having the multiple values. I am having int a equal to 5, int b equal to 6, int c equal to 8. Now I want to store all these values into a single. Basically, for storing the multiple values, I am creating the multiple variables like a, b, and c. Now I want to store all the variables all the values into a single variable. I want to store all these values into a single variable. So for that, I will create an array, and inside that array, I will store the values. So for creating the array, first you need to write a type of the array. I want to store the integer data, so I provide the int. Then inside, I need to provide the name of the variable. So the name of the variable is my num. Then I need to declare the size. So I want to store the three variable. I want to store the three values. So I declare the size of this as 3. And after that, I am storing all these values 5, 6, 8. This is called as an array. I declared the size that I want to store the three values, and after that I stored the three values inside the curly braces. And this is a single variable. This is the name of single variable. So instead of creating the multiple variables, I created a single variable and I defined a size that I want to store a three elements, and it is of integer type that I want to store the data in the integer format. So in this way, you can create an array and you can store the data inside the array. This was the basic syntax. Now let's create an array. Let's understand with one more example. In the previous example, I was storing the integer data. Now in this example, I want to store the data in the string format. So I'm creating an array of a string type, string, and the name of array is cars. And the cars is of size 4. That means I want to store the 4 element. So first I am saying that it is a Volvo. First element. The second element is BMW. The third element is Ford. And the fourth element is Maruti. These are the 4 cars. These are the 4 elements inside the string array. Now I want to access the element, and all these elements are provided with a particular index. Index means this first element will be at the 0 index. This second element will be at the 1 index. Index always start from 0. This third element will be at second index, and this element will be at third index. Indexing always start from 0. Now if in case I only want to print the second element, so what I will do, second element means first, second. This is the second element. So what I will do, I will simply use the cout, and then I will use the name of the variable. Name of the variable is car, and inside this I will provide the index. So index is I want to print the second element, so I will provide the index as 1. This is called as an index. The 0, 1, 2, 3 is called as an index. At which index I want to print the element, at whatever index, I can simply pass that index after the variable name. This is cars variable, and I will get the output. I will get the output as, at the first index element is BMW, so I will get the BMW as the output. Another line, if in case I want to print the element at the fourth index, I want to print the element at the third index, so I will get the output as Maruti, because at third index the Maruti is the element. So in this way you can access the element at a particular index. Access the element at a particular index. Particular index. Now, if in case you want to change the data of a particular index, let's consider I want to change the element, that is, I want to change this BMW to some another data. I want to change this value. So what I can do, I can simply use the index. I will use the index like I will use cars. Cars is the name of the array. Cars is the name of the array. Then I will say I want to access the element at the first index. Now I want to change the data from BMW to open one. Open one. So this element will be changed. This element will be changed. Now if I will print the data again, then this data will be changed from BMW to open one. So in this way, you can change the element at a particular index. Change element at a provided index. We will implement all these things, then you will get a clear picture. But for now, I am simply explaining you the theoretical concept. Now let's create a variable. Now let's create a array on the VS Code, and let's try to print the element of that array. So here I am creating a new file, that is array.cpp, and over here we are simply going to create an array. So first I am writing a program. I'm including a header file iostream, then using namespace standard, then int main, and inside this I am simply creating a string array that we have created, a string, and the name of the array is cars, which is having the 5 element. I have provided this 5 is called as a length. This means I want to store the 5 element. And inside this, the first element is Volvo, the second element is BMW, third element is Ford, the third element is Ford, fourth element is Mazda, D, and the fifth element is Tesla. These are the 4 cars. Now I want to print the element at the, I already explained you that each element of an array is provided with a particular index. So this element will be at the 0 index, this will be at the first index, this will be at the second index, this will be at the third index, this will be at the fourth index. So if I want to print the element at the second index, I can simply use cout, and then the name of the variable is cars. Inside the cars, I will provide the index. So I will get the output as Ford. Let's implement this. Let's execute this. So here I want to print the element at the, I am using the name of the variable, and then I am providing the index at the I want to print the element at the second index, and then the line break. Then I want to print the element at the first index also. First index, then a line break. Then I want to print the element at the 0th index, and then a line break. Let's see output. Let's execute this. So when I'm executing this, we are getting the output as Ford, because at second index the element is Ford, because Volvo is at 0th index. Let me write this. This is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. So the second index the element is Ford. At the first index the element is BMW, and the 0th index Volvo. Okay, so in this way you can access the element at a particular index. Now if in case I want to print all the elements of this array, I want to simply print all the elements. So for that I need to use a for loop. If in case I want to print all the elements, so I will simply use the for loop. For the starting index will be the 0, because I want to start at the 0 from the 0th index. So int I equal to 0, and then the number of elements are 5. So I will make the condition as until and unless I is less than 5, and after each iteration I want to increase the value of I by 1, and then I simply want to print the element at cars and at the ith index, and then a line break. Let's execute this. All the elements are getting printed. Let's understand this, how the things are working. So first I started from the 0th index, so the element at the 0th index got printed. So inside this, inside the cout statement, I am using cars at the 0th index in the first iteration. So that 0th index Volvo is present, So Volvo got printed. Now the value of I is increased. That means I will become 1. Now again the implementation of for loop will come into picture. This time cars at the first index. At the first index BMW is present. So BMW got printed. Then then value of I has increased by 1 due to this statement I plus plus. Then again due to this statement the index is 2, and then pod got printed. So in this way the execution of the loops comes into picture, and all the elements are getting printed on my output stream. In this way you can print all the elements of an array. Now if in case, now let's understand one more concept. Till now we have created the array by declaring the size. So here I was declaring the size. That means I want to simply store the 5 element, 6 element. But if you want, you can also create the element without declaring the size of that array, because our compiler is smart enough to detect the size. Example can be, let's consider, I want to create a string. I want to create an array of string type, that is cars, and now I am not declaring any kind of size. I won't want to declare, and inside this I am storing the multiple elements like Volvo, BMW, Ford. These are the element I have declared, but I have not defined the size over here. So our compiler is smart enough to detect the size. So this was first example, and another way. This is the first method, and another way of declaring the same array is like by declaring the size. That means I want to add the 3 elements only. So in both the ways you can declare the array. Both the ways are correct. In first way we are not declaring any kind of size, but in the second way we are declaring the size. That means I want to store the 3 element, 4 element. But in first case we are not declaring any kind of size. So both things are correct, and you can declare the array in both the ways. Now if in case I have declared the array using this without declaring the size, so in that particular case I don't know how many elements the user has stored. So for that purpose we need to get the size of that array. Let's consider I have not declared, let me first erase this. I have not declared the array using this method. I have declared the array using this particular first method. In this case I don't know the size of the array. So let's understand how to calculate the size of array. How to calculate size of array. Size of array. And let me first erase this also, because we will be discussing with the another example. So here I am declaring int my number, and then this, and then 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. These are the elements. Now if I want to calculate the size of the array, in that particular case what I will do, I will write cout. I will be using a default function that is called as size of my number, size of my number. So in this we are storing the integer data, and I already told you that each integer value is of 4 byte. So in this case let's first define the size also. I am defining that I want to store the size as 5. That means 1 2 3 4 5, and each element is of 4 byte. So each element is of 4 byte, and we are having the 1 2 3 4 5 elements. That means total size will become 4 into 5. That means 20 bytes. Total size will become 20 bytes. So if I will what output I will get? Output I will get as 20 bytes, because first element is of 4 byte, second element is of 4 byte, third element is of 4 byte, fourth element is also of 4 byte, and fifth element is of also 4 byte. So the total size of this array is 20 bytes. In this way you can calculate the size. Now if in case, this is to calculate the size of array. Now if in case you want to get the length of the array, length of the array means how many number of elements are available inside the array. So to calculate, these are the important things, because these we will be using while doing the practice questions. So how to calculate length of array. length of array. So for that, we will simply be using, this is the number, this is the basically the array. Now I want to get the length of this. So I will first create a variable. That means int get length. Inside the get length, what I will do, I will first use this size of and then my number, size of my number. That means which this will be providing me the 20 as the output. 20 as the output. This thing. Now I will divide this size by number by size of the first element. Size of the first element of this array. It means my my number at the 0th index. Now let's try to understand, because this is a very important concept. So what I'm doing, first I have calculated the size of my num. So size of my num is 20 because each element is having the 4 bytes. So the total size is 20. Now I am dividing that by size of my num 0. So the my num 0, that means I want to check the size of the first element, and the size of the first element is 4 bytes. So I'm simply dividing the 20 by the 4 byte. So I will get the total length. That means the 5. 20 divided by 4, that means 4. So 4 will be the length of array. Length of array. In C++, if you want to calculate the length of array, in that particular case, first we need to take the size of the minimum, that means size of the whole array, and after that you need to divide that by the first element, by the size of the first element. So in this way, you can calculate the whole length of the array. Let's try to understand this again. So the size of the whole array is 20 bytes because each element is having 4 byte, 4 byte, 4 byte. So 4 into 5, that means 20. 4 byte into 5 elements, that is a 20 size. Now I'm dividing that by the size of the first element. So the size of the first element is of 4 bytes. So I divided by 20 divided by 4. 20 divided by 4 is the 5, and 5 is the length of the array. So in this way, you can calculate the length of the array. Now let's implement one question over here. Now we are going to implement the sum of the array element, sum of the element of the array. Now let me comment this. Let me first comment this. And here I am declaring an array arr, which is storing the multiple element 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 till 5. Now I want to calculate the sum of all these numbers. Sum of all these numbers means 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 5. I want to calculate the sum of all these numbers. So for that, first I will calculate the size of this array, because I don't know, I can count the number of elements, but in programming we will not count, you will calculate that. So here I am calculating the size of the array. We already have discussed how to calculate the size of the array using this method. That means first I will take the size of whole array, then I will divide the size by first element, the size of the first element. So I am creating a variable that is size, and inside size I am typing size of the array arr, and then the size of the first element. I will divide by size of the first element. Size of first element arr 0. arr 0. So in this way I can calculate the size of that element. So I got the size of the array, that will be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So inside the size variable I am having the 5. Now I am creating a sum variable which is storing the value 0. Now I am using a for loop. For int I equal to 0, I want to start from 0th index. Then I want to basically I want to stop the for loop at the size value, and then I want to increase the value of I after the each iteration. Then I am doing sum equal to sum plus arr at ith index, and after that I am simply printing out sum. Now let's first understand this, and after that we will execute this program. Let's first understand this, how the things are working. Basically what I'm doing, I have created an array. This is the array which I have created without declaring the size. I don't know how many elements are there. I have not defined the size. So that's the reason on line number 15 I am calculating the size. So for calculating the size, what I'm doing, I am using the size of array. Size of array means each element is of 4 byte. This 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 is of 4 byte. So the total size of the array, total size of array will be the 20 bytes, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 4 5 are 20 bytes. Because of this you will get the 20. Now you are simply checking the size of the first element. So the size of the first element is 4. So you will divide the 20 by 4, that the length of the array will become 5. So in this way you are calculating the length of the array. Now coming to the next step, coming to the for loop. The for loop is initializing from the 0th index. So in first iteration, the value of I is 0. The value of size is 5. The value of size is 5. We already have checked how we have calculated. Size is 5. So in first iteration, we started from 0th index. Now we will check this condition. That means 0 is less than equal to 5 or not. Okay, 0 is less than equal to 5. 0 is less than 5. So the condition will become 2. And we will move to the for loop and we will print sum equal to sum plus array at the 0th index. So the things will be like this: sum equal to sum plus array arr and element at the 0th index. So element at the 0th index is 1. Element at the 0th index is 1. So like 1 I will add, but sum is storing the value 0. So 0 plus 1. So the sum will be storing the 1 in the first iteration. So let me erase this, and sum is storing the value 1 in first iteration. Now coming to the second iteration, and after that the value of I will also increase. Because of this, the value of I will become 1. Now it will check 1 is less than equal to 5. The condition is true, and this time sum equal to sum is storing value 1, and the value and this time the index will become 1. So element at the first index is 2, because this is at 0, this is at 1, this is at 2, this is at 3, this is at 4. So element at the first index is 2. So I will add 1 plus 2. The sum will become 3 in the second iteration. So let me erase this. In first iteration sum was 1. In second iteration the sum will become 3. Coming to the third iteration, the value of I will become 2. Because of this, the value of I has increased. Again it will check the value of I. That means 2 is less than equal to 5. Obviously 2 is less than equal to 5, true, and sum will be calculated in this way. This time the sum is initially storing 3. Now the element at the ith index, that means ARR at the second index. Second index means second index element is 3. So 3 plus 3 equal to 6. The sum will become 6. Now coming to the fourth, the value of I will become 3 because of this I plus plus. Again it will check 3 is less than equal to 5. The condition is true. Again this time the value of sum is 6. The value of sum is 6 this time. The value of sum is 6, and the value at the array third index. 6 plus third index is 4. 6 4 10. So the sum will become 10. Again in fifth iteration, the value of I is 4. It will check 4 is less than equal to 5. Condition is true. It will again check. This time the initial value of sum is 10, and the value of at the fourth index is 5. The fourth index is 5. That means 6 plus 5 11. Sum will become 11. Okay, so the things will work in this particular manner. I think we have made some mistake while doing the indexing part, but I think the idea behind this concept is clear to you. Basically, idea is clear. First, second, third, fourth, fifth index, and then moving to the value will become 5. Yes, basically the value we are doing the correct. So let me erase this. The value will become 5 in this way. Now in sixth iteration the value will become 5. Now this time it will check. It is not, we are checking the wrong condition over here. That's the reason we are not checking equal to, we are simply checking less than. Each time we are checking the less than, we are not checking equal to. Less than 5, less than 5, less than 5 and less than 5 and less than 5. Again, the value of I will become 5. It will check 5 is less than 5. 5 is not less than 5. The condition will become false and the execution will stop. Some variable is storing 11, so we will get the 11 as the output. So let me erase this and let's execute this. Execute this program. Execute this. So we are getting the 15 as the output. Maybe we had made some mistake. 15. Yes, 15 is the correct output. Maybe while doing a dry run, we had made some mistake. No problem. But the main purpose was to understand the idea, how the things are working. So I hope you got the idea how the things are working, how the iterations are working. So if you are good to understand the iterations, now you can implement the programs by yourself. Let's discuss one more program over here. One more program. Find the maximum element. Find the maximum element in an array. Let me comment this, and here we are creating a program to find the maximum element of the array. Again, we are doing the same thing. We are creating an array of the integer type and we are not defining the size. And then we are storing 1 comma 2 comma 90 comma 10 comma 11 comma 22 comma 20, 11 22 comma 13 15. Now I want to find the maximum element of this array. So first I'm simply checking the size. We already have discussed how to calculate the size of and then arr underscore size of the first element, arr 0. Now we got the size. Now I'm considering as the max element is the first element. I'm considering this that first element is the max element. I have assumed this. Now I'm running a for loop. Now I'm running a for loop for int I equal to 1, for I equal to 1, and then I should be less than size, and I plus plus. And in each iteration, I'm checking if the element at that iteration is greater than the max element, then I will simply make that element as max. Then the max element will become the element at that iteration. Okay. So basically, I'm assuming that the first element is max. Let me explain you what I'm assuming. I'm assuming the element at the 0th index, that means 1 is the maximum element. I am assuming this. Now I'm running a for loop, and inside this for loop I am checking if the element at that particular index is greater than the max element. Let's consider we this is 0, this is 1, this is 2. We reach to the second index. So at the second index, let me erase this and let me explain you this again. So in first index, the element is 0, element is 1. So the we have assumed that maximum element is 1. We have assumed maximum element is 1. Now moving to the next iteration. At the next iteration, the value of I will become 1. Initially we started from 1, then I will become 2. Now it will check the element at that particular index, the element at the second index. It will check that, and if that element at that particular index is greater than the max element, in that particular case the element will become max. Like, so we are not starting from the 0th index, we are starting from the first index, because we have assumed the element at the 0th index is maximum. Now we started from the first index, so the element at the first index is 2. So we have checked 2 is greater than the max element. Max element is storing 1. 2 is greater than 1. Yes, 2 is greater than 1. So I will make the max element at that particular index. Now the max element will become 2. Now the max element is 2. Again, let me change this. The max element is become 2 because of this. Now again the iteration will be moving further, moving to the second index. So at second index it will check arr. Second index is greater than max. Max is storing 2. Element at the second index is 90. Element at the second index is 90, which is greater than 2. So the max element will become 90. Max element will become 90. So this time the max element has become, this is, let me erase this, and now the max element has become 90. Again, it will move further. Again, it will move to the next index. That means index will be the 3. So at the third index, it will check ARR at the third index is greater than the max element. So element at the third index is 10. Is it greater with the max element? No, max element is the 90. So this condition will not execute because we are checking inside the if condition. So if will only execute if this condition is true. This condition is false. So if block will not execute and the execution move to the next iteration. That means the fourth iteration. Things will work in this manner, and in this way we will get the maximum element. Let's execute this. Execute this. We also need to print the max element. We have not printed the max element, so let's print the max element also. Out max and then the line break. Save this. We are getting the max element as the 90. In this way you can get the max element. Now try to implement one practice question by yourself. That means write a program, find the minimum element of the array. This is your first practice question. The next practice question is write a program to find the average of the elements of the array. Elements of the array. Now the next program you need to write a program. Try to do the practice by yourself. Write a program to reverse the array. So these three programs you need to practice by yourself. In this video, we discussed about the concept of the array. We discussed from very much starting, when we also have implemented the multiple practice questions. In the next video, we will be discussing some new concepts.